Hi, this is Mike Sweeney from sabercoaching.com with another story from the edge, and I'm going to give this to you in maybe 3 parts. First part, a little bit of context on what it means to use your body to think. The second is some context of what's going on for me at the edge of insights I'm getting from my body. And then finally, a few tips on how to do it. So it really starts with, I think it was a session a few years ago I was going through, and we had one of those intros where people said, introduce yourself, where you, what your job title is and where you work. And so everybody went around and did their thing, and finally it came to me, and I felt like we needed a little bit of icebreaker. And I said, my name is Mike Sweeney, I'm a coach at Saber Coaching, and I work here from the neck up. And people laughed because it was just a silly thing to say, where I didn't say, Boston or wherever. And the topic was interesting, or the joke was mildly funny. But for me, I tend to spend a lot of time in my head. And that can lead to a lot of analysis paralysis. It can lead to what I've described before as the spin cycle. And as I'm going through some career options right now, what I'm finding is that I'm ranking things, I'm scoring, I'm doing pros and cons, and I'm thinking through, numerical rating scores on index cards, and I'm writing out all the options. I'm talking to other people, and I'm building in their input, recognizing their bias, and I'm making sure that I make a quote-unquote smart decision. And as I've been thinking through these choices, I'm noticing that there's some physical impacts, like in my body. I'm feeling certain things, but I'm not really attuned to it. And what that tells me is that maybe I need to pay some attention. So I was on a call with a career coach. I had access to a decent career coach, and was at the end of the session, he said, well, you're a coach. If you had a client in the same situation who tends to think quite a bit, what would you recommend? And I said, all right, I'd write 4 index cards with the 4 options, and then I'd sit with them. And I would figure out what's going on in the body, and I would create an environment for that to happen. And he said, great, sounds like a good idea. When will you do this, et cetera, et cetera. And I kept trying to do it, and I kept getting back into the spin cycle of thinking, and what should I be doing, and is this option, which one is more practical? And so I, of course, as a coach, I think it's important to invest in coaching. So I have my coach, and I told him the scenario, and I asked him, I want to get some insights. So this is where I think maybe you could find it practical, in that having someone guide you through listening to what's happening inside your body when you have some choices ahead of you can be powerful. So this is what I'm observing, learning, or trying. I got everything out of my head as much as I could and distilled it down to one note card that had possibilities, concerns, and then my values, and then the score, the numerical score of each option, and whether it aligned with certain values or it didn't. And let's see where Snickers is right now. There he goes. Or she. And I asked my coach to kind of help me get into it. So the first thing that happened, he said, we'll pick the first option. And immediately I started overthinking. Oh my God, what should be first? Should I pick this one or that one? And I said, that's gonna lead to, and I just started laughing. And I just put the 4 cards on the table, closed my eyes, and picked one. And I opened my eyes, and he started to ask me, just what am I noticing? Right? And he was great in that he said, what's the pace, your breath, what are you doing with your hands, and just a bunch of questions about my surroundings. And about a minute or two in, I realized, oh, maybe I should actually be here. I think my exact words are, get effing here and stop taking notes. So I moved away from taking notes and get out of my head, and it's just started to move around a little bit. And on the first option, I discovered that there was I was feeling a chest swell, and there was pride with the job title, etc. I got into another one, and I started to feel this smirk that, oh, this this doesn't feel right, and like it's kind of, I feel like I'm kind of beyond it. And I was really picking up different things. And then the next one, I almost had this growl. And I realized that when not in my head, this was the option that was the most practical, but completely against what I wanted for the future and what I wanted my life to be like. And when I put myself in the position, or at least my coach helped me get in the position of what will your life be like when you're there, I physically noticed that my hands were clenched, my teeth were clenched, and my eyes teared up. And so however I was thinking in pros and cons, my body was pretty clear what I thought about this particular option. And I hadn't had access to that before. And then finally, I picked up the next option and I started to giggle and I started to laugh. And I remember not thinking, but just experiencing kind of a feeling of levity, the feeling when you're in play, like when you're outside playing tag, when you're little, and it was really playful energy. And so I had another information source that I could use along with my analysis, along with my friends' input. I could use what my body was telling me. And all those things like pace and hand gesture and position and everything that I was accessing was a new source of information. So I think what I'd say is if you've got some choices, sit with it, use a coach if you have access to it. And the language of the body can be powerful, and there's a lot of wisdom in there. And at the end, one of the assignments for me was, well, who do you get to be in this kind of playful place? And I remember thinking about this playful place as I was smiling a lot. And that was one of my dreams, to smile a lot at work. One of these dreams that I wrote in 2007 when I wrote my list of 100 dreams. And when he asked me, who do you get to be? I just laughed again. And he said, what? And I said, I get to be myself, which is a pretty nice thing to discover. And so I'm going to continue down that path, continue that journey. Listen to your body. It can be hard to get there. Use a coach if needed. And I hope this concept of having another information source that's not your friends, that's not the math, that's not your head, can be powerful. I hope you have a good one. Let's go, Siki.
This is Red Rocks! This is the edge!